are you doing?
I don't know what I'm doing.
You're going around in circles.
Ah! Shit! Fuck me! Fuck me! Ah! 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 Shit! What the I don't fuck! Stop screaming! Stop! Fuck you! Fuck this game, man.
What did I tell you guys? What did I say? I am a goddamn prophet, guys. Anyways, what's up everyone? Another day, another slay, and I hope yours is going okay. The Last of Us episode 3 just came out, and it was solid. I liked it. The acting was well done. It was definitely, like, the most emotional episode of the show. To be fair, episode 3 was probably the worst episode of the show, at least, like, objectively speaking. That's not to say it was anywhere near bad. It was just definitely the most clearly flawed episode with the most stuff that just doesn't make sense. There's a lot of stupid plot holes in this. For example, why is Bill standing out in the open when they're being attacked? He was literally just like asking to get shot right there. And then why is his town over the course of 20 years only shown to get raided once? I will be fair though, the game had the same issue with Bill's town, if not worse, because from my knowledge they never even mentioned the town getting raided before, but that doesn't make the problem in the show any less of a problem. Anyways, this is definitely a flawed episode and probably the most flawed one. Those are only the things I picked up on in my first viewing of the episode. God only knows how many I could pick up on in a second viewing. And then there's also some other subjective complaints that I get a lot of people could have. This right here isn't really an objective flaw, but the whole sex scene they had with Bill and Frank was just kind of unnecessary, and obviously the big one that it deviates a bunch from the game's main story. Like this entire episode, outside of maybe one scene at the end where Joel lays down like his ground rules for Ellie, is nothing like how things go down in the game whatsoever. I would have really liked to see the banter between Ellie and Bill be brought back for the show. I thought it was genuinely hilarious in the game. I also think, unlike how they cut the majority of the Robert level from the first episode, the action sequences for the level in this game that they adapted, the action sequences for this level in the game were actually really good, like some of the best moments with zombies in the game. Running through the outside of town from the giant horde of zombies while they're getting caught up in all the traps and just like barely making it, or the one part where Joel gets strung up upside down by one of Bill's traps and he has to shoot the infected upside down. It's all really memorable stuff from the game that very easily could have made into really cool action sequences for TV. But I can't lie to you, what they replaced the entire level with in the game was also really good, and I feel like it fits the message of the game a lot better than what they showed in the game. In the game, Bill was kind of a foil character for Joel, like what would happen if Joel kept going down on the path he was going on, where he shuts himself off from everybody around him. It's definitely still very good writing, but I feel like the show kind of fits into the theme more of how love is what we live for, and we get to see that through Bill and Frank's relationship, and how at the end when they both game end themselves, Bill explains how he has pretty much nothing else left to live for aside from Frank. And it can definitely be argued whether the game or show did it better, but I don't know, I kind of liked it in the show more. And then the music choice they had for their love song was also really good too. The Last of Us has always had really good music choices when it comes to licensed music in their scenes, especially in the second game, and episode 3 is no exception. I won't lie, another personal gripe I have with the episode is how they cut out the foreshadowing for Joel's death that was in the game. If you don't remember, they had this scene.
Seriously, you gotta take that kid back to where you found her.
I can't just take her back.
Then send her packing, let her find her own way. Look, let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, I had somebody that I cared about. A partner. Somebody I had to look after. And in this world, that sort of shit's good for one thing: getting you killed. And it was really cool foreshadowing for the second game, but they cut it out and they didn't really replace it with anything. That being said, I guess the best way to describe this episode is that from an emotional standpoint, in the way that it gets the overall show's message across, this episode does the best job of that so far out of any of the episodes we've gotten. However, at the same time, it's definitely the most flawed one in terms of objective plot holes and deviations from the game. However, as with anything that has to do with The Last of Us at this point, that's not what people are mad about. Can you guess what it is? If you've been watching my videos the last couple of weeks, you should know by now. If your answer was A, too much gay people, ding ding ding, you're correct, here's a gold star. Anyways, today we're going to be checking out a Synthetic Man video, because over the last few months he has gone increasingly more off the rails with his far right-wing takes on his channel. Like, they were definitely prominent before, but at this point he's become like a more soy-filled version of the quartering, but for gaming. Don't even ask me how that's possible, but enough talking and let's see what YouTube has shout out today.
Alright, I want an apology from every single one of you who claimed this show was the best video game adaptation of all time, and this guy just hates everything. I can't believe he'd assume that a video game adaptation would be bad. And what do you know, it only took 3 episodes for this thing to jump the shark.
How? I mean, he's clearly talking about how it focused heavily on a gay relationship, from him putting in the couple scenes of Bill and Frank together. But like, the game also focused pretty heavily on a gay relationship too, with the whole Left Behind DLC. So I don't know how the hell this is quote-unquote jumping the shark. Again, the only actual like objective arguments were that it deviated a lot from the game, which is fair enough, and then those stupid plot holes. Again, I won't lie, objectively, this is probably the worst episode of the show so far. I'm not gonna pretend like it's some goddamn masterpiece like a lot of people have, but to imply that it's bad is also really dumb, because while there are plot holes that don't break the entire story of the show, like how part 2 does with Joel's death, and then the deviations, which I get why people can be disappointed in them, but like, you got the original game. Why are you even bothering with the show if you want a beat for beat recreation of the original game? And like, for best adaptation of a game, really, what other options are there for good ones? All that comes to mind for me is like Cyberpunk Edgerunners and Arcane, but even still, those were mostly their own stories being told in the world of those games, not really adaptations. And even still, Cyberpunk Edgerunners, you would probably have to play the game to understand most of what's going on in that show. I haven't even seen Arcane yet. Again, maybe it's my limited Zoomer knowledge that keeps me from discovering the truly great game adaptations that have already come out, but I genuinely don't know any that come to mind.
Holy crap, I am blown away by the lack of restraint by HBO. Subtlety is truly dead. I'm serious, by the way. I want to see at least one comment say Synthetic Man was right. So really quick, I will cover this briefly for those of you who don't know what's going on. Basically, episode 3 of The Last of Us is Brokeback Mountain.
See, here's the thing. The main thing setting it off right now is the fact that it focuses on a gay relationship. Because, you know, if it were to focus on another straight side character, for example, like if the second episode would have done this exact same treatment for like Tess and some random side character, showing their relationship, how they met, all this other stuff right before she died, he would not be nearly as pissed off as he is right now. Because as you'll see, his main complaint in a second is because they don't hide Bill's sexuality anymore. Yeah, he's gonna use the classic, I don't care if you're gay, just don't shove it in my face argument. Which, to clarify, before people start calling me like a liberal or something, on paper I agree with that statement, but what these people identify as shoving gayness in your face is genuinely some of the most hypocritical stuff I've ever heard. Shoving gayness in your face is like having scenes where the gay characters stop and essentially start talking directly to the audience of why they need to be gay or something, or having like gay stereotype characters. The Last of Us is just having gay characters with actual personalities be in a relationship. If you can't handle that, then you are not fit to be out in the real world, which, judging by your greasy ass hair, you clearly haven't been in a very long time.
You think I'm joking? I'm not, dude. If you remember Bill from the original game, which most people probably do if you played it, it was a pretty memorable part. Instead of Joel and Ellie working their way through the town, avoiding his traps, teaming up with him, fighting your way through a horde of infected, encountering the bloater for the first time, and eventually discovering that Bill's partner had gotten infected and committed Sudoku, all of that was cut out of the TV show version, and instead we got 50 minutes of 2 middle-aged gay dudes falling in love, and there's an extended kissing scene, and they even get married, and it is just the weirdest, bizarre, out-of-left-field shit that is completely irrelevant to the overall plot.
I mean, I get how some people could think that, but I think it's more of a side story that shows why Joel is gonna need to make the decision he's gonna make at the end. The writers put in the whole backstory of them also to show how there really isn't anything worth living in the world outside of the people that you care about. Could they have done that in a shorter amount of time by like cutting out their flashback scenes and just having Joel and Ellie read his letter? Yeah, but they also could have done the same with Sarah's death. They could have cut out the whole 30 to 40 minute scene of Joel and Sarah going through their day until the outbreak happens and Sarah dies, and then replace it with just Tommy showing Joel the picture he found of Joel and Sarah in like the 6th episode when you get to Jackson. And I know what you're all thinking, Josh, that's dumb as fuck. Sarah's death scene is probably the most impactful scene in The Last of Us as a whole. And yeah, you're 100% right. That's exactly my point. Having the 50 minutes of Bill and Frank together makes that letter way more impactful than if they were to just cut it out. The same works for Sarah's death. Have you ever heard of Show Don't Tell? And goddamn it, if you have that much of a problem with the scenes of Bill and Frank and you think they're irrelevant and should have been cut, then skip them. It's not that hard.
And before one of you morons comments, well, Bill was gay in the game, What the hell does that have to do with any of this? This is not what happened in the game. It's not even fucking close.
That's literally just a straw man, and a really dumb one at that. Nobody is saying that this needed to be here because Bill was gay. I'm saying it needed to be there to make the letter he left way more impactful.
I can't believe that they're trying to subject mainstream audiences to this.
Yes, how dare they subject me to gay characters in my game adaptation. This is what I mean. He brings up that the scene is unnecessary like a little bit, but his main problem with it is how they were forcing him to watch like gay characters. Oh no, you poor soul, how will you ever get to heaven now after watching a gay sex scene? As if you couldn't fucking skip it like I did. Better get your shotgun out or something.
I know we live in clown world, it's pretty much undeniable if you have even a shred of sanity left, which seems to be increasingly rare these days. But the writers of this show, including Neil Druckmann himself, who's been credited on every episode so far, have to know that they're pushing a little bit too hard on this stuff.
Again, like I said, the sex scene was definitely unnecessary, but there have been unnecessary sex scenes in good entertainment for a long ass time. Like God of War, aren't 2018 and Ragnarok like the only games where Kratos doesn't fuck someone? But because it's gay, oh no, they're subjecting me to woke propaganda. They're trying to turn me into one of them LGBT smart TVs. Hide your kids. This is quantum TV levels of insanity right here.
I'm gonna give you a hard truth right here, and you can give me as many dislikes as you want, but the reality is the vast majority of people do not want to see two hairy men kissing.
And I don't really feel like I need to see Kratos fucking someone, so you know what I do? I skip those scenes. It's not that hard. Like, gay people have been subjected to straight relationships and stuff for literally decades, and the vast majority have not said shit. Did you ever hear anybody get mad over Kratos fucking someone in God of War outside of some like insane left-winger? No, because again, nobody cares. But again, oh no, it's a gay couple doing it this time. I don't want to see that, and the remote to skip this scene is a whole 2 feet away. It's time to make the twit longer of how this scene scarred me and my 11-year-old child.
It's already incredibly implausible that Bill would seal off this entire town, and all of a sudden, one survivor comes along, and he just happens to be gay as well.
Yeah, that's fair, but that happened in the game too, or at least it was implied it happened in the game. I don't really know how else Frank would have met Bill, but whatever. This is the thing, back when Last of Us 2 came out, people got so mad about plot contrivances in The Last of Us as if the first game wasn't like littered with them everywhere. How they met Marlene, how Tess and Ellie got separated from Joel to put Tess in the perfect position to get bitten, how they arrived at the Firefly base to find all of them dead because for some reason Fedra chased them out like 10 miles out of the quarantine zone. The entire damn series was based on plot contrivances. Yet everybody wants to call the first Last of Us like a flawless masterpiece. It's good, but it's got a lot of problems.
And they basically live out the first 5 minutes of Up, but gay, in a zombie apocalypse. I don't care if this episode made you cry. It's fucking stupid. At least Bill in the game was kinda cool, and then at the end it turned out he was gay, and it was revealed in admittedly a pretty funny moment.
Oh, I'm sure your friend will be missing this tonight. It's light on the reading, but it's got some interesting photos.
Now, Ellie, that ain't for kids.
Whoa! How the hell would he even walk around with that thing?
Get rid of that.
Well, hold your horses. I want to see what all the fuss is about. Oh, why are these all stuck together?
Bill was on the very short list of actually well-written gay characters in video games alongside Arcade Gannon from Fallout New Vegas and probably one or two others. Trust me, it's difficult to think of any gay characters from games that don't just immediately shout out their sexuality in their first scene.
And where the hell does Bill do that in the show? You're acting like when we got introduced to him, he was wearing like a pride flag as a cape or something. No, it showed his character, who he was as a person, how he looked at the world, and how he treated people. Then it revealed that he was also gay, just like the game did. I'm pretty sure it got revealed that he was gay in the show like almost halfway through the episode. He's literally just lying through his teeth now.
And now look what they've done. In modern woke culture, subtlety is dead. The audience has to be told immediately why we should care about a white man, because we're all supposed to hate straight white men, but this guy's gay, so he's alright.
No, again, they waited till almost like halfway through the episode to reveal he was gay. We've been introduced to him for like a total of 20 minutes already. You're trying to spin the narrative that it's trying to push some like political agenda or something. It's got gay people in it. I don't know how the hell gay people ended up having anything to do with politics, yet here we are. When everything's being called either woke or racist, nothing in between.
And man, I am really struggling to come up with anything I even want to discuss related to this huge section of the episode. It is quite literally the majority of the episode, and giving you yet another synopsis of the scenes would just be a complete waste of time.
Yet you just fucking did that and I had to look through a solid 2 minutes of your video only to find out that shit, this is all completely pointless, so I sped it up to make everyone a little less miserable.
This is filler. Shonen anime tier filler.
I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about Sarah's death then, because it also could have been told to the audience that Joel has a daughter that he lost to the outbreak by Tommy. I mean, shit, why show anything at this point? Just have the entire TV series be Neil Druckmann explaining the story of The Last of Us to his audience. I'm sure that'll be just great. And before you say, oh, Sarah's death is super important to the main story, this wasn't even in the game, it isn't important at all. Yes, the fuck it is important to the main story. Maybe not as much as something like Sarah's death, but it's still really important because it's showing Joel why he needs to love again, because there isn't anything left in the world worth living for aside from that.
To appease the virtue signaling freaks on Twitter, that's the only reason this exists. It's not even like it was poorly acted or poorly written. No, I think Nick Offerman did a good job, and I never really watched Parks and Rec, and I didn't keep up with any of the Ron Swanson memes, but still, obviously, I recognize it. So it was kind of weird to see him take a gay role.
Straight actors play gay characters all the fucking time. What are you talking about?
Yes, I know he's a liberal in real life, but that doesn't really matter. The point is, he's not gay. Or maybe he's yet another closeted Hollywood gay? I don't fucking know. The point is, I didn't sign up for this.
Well, be careful not to choke on the LGBT representation being quote-unquote shoved down your throat on the way out, motherfucker.
If I wanted to watch a gay romance story, I would have just watched a gay romance story, and trust me, there's multiple gay romance stories on streaming services. I know because my mother watches them.
Your mother's being possessed by the woke liberals. You better hurry, it isn't too late to save her.
This is a show about The Last of Us. It's a zombie apocalypse story.
I mean, it is, but it's also a story about the love a father has for his daughter and how the relationships are what people live for. Really, The Last of Us is more about that with a zombie skin on it. And episode 3 is an example of what Joel needs in his life, someone to love and protect. If you wanted to watch some generic zombie show, go watch The Walking Dead or something.
And yes, the human condition and love and hate and just mankind's potential in general for great good and great evil is obviously a prevailing theme in all apocalypse stories. This is still bullshit because it has nothing to do with the apocalypse.
Yes, it does. They game end because in this apocalypse, without each other, they would have nothing else to live for. Holy shit. Close the Fox News tab, watch the damn show, and maybe you'd see this shit.
They were basically living on a private island while the rest of the world was destroyed. The only outside contact they had with the world was Joel and Tess. So this is...
No, they had the radio. That's how they met Joel and Tess. Oh my god.
It starts off with Ellie being a bitch again, basically telling Joel not to blame her for Tess dying because they made their own choices trying to escort her. And while she's technically not wrong, why the hell is she being such a sociopath? I mean, seriously? Are they trying to get us to hate this character?
Were you paying attention to Joel's body language, how he was treating her at the beginning with the "I don't want your apology"? He was very clearly blaming her for Tess's death, and that's exactly why Ellie said that.
And yeah, that's the end of the episode, and I don't think I even need to tell you what I think. Obviously, I hated it. I'm sure most of my audience hated it. As for Redditors, I'm sure plenty of them will pretend that they absolutely loved it. It was great, needed representation, a super improvement on the game, better in every way, a masterpiece of television.
I mean, it was alright. I think it was definitely a solid episode, but it was really overrated by all the fucking critics that were hyping this shit up.
And you wonder why I don't take my enemies seriously. And I don't care if you think it's cringe that I call them my enemies, because they quite literally hate watch my videos and dislike bomb them. What else do you want me to call them?
Bro, you are not all that. I'm sorry. You're a crazy incel redneck on the internet who looks like the fucking adult version of Goob from Meet the Robinsons, and whose only rise to fame was to complain about, quite honestly, the easiest, most repeated arguments on the internet, like Last of Us 2 bad, EA bad, and Ubisoft bad. You are not him. As Kendrick Lamar says, bitch, sit down, be humble. And I'm just cutting the rest of this because I'm actually bored out of my mind with this motherfucker. He has such clear double standards for shit, and I don't know, just talking about essentially the same talking point, but on each side of the political spectrum the last 3 weeks has been kind of exhausting, I'm not gonna lie. Like, why is The Last of Us of all series is political? What the hell is political about this story? I was asking the same damn question back when The Last of Us 2 came out. People just use games like these to try to relate them to their own political ideologies, and it's just embarrassing. So yeah, I'm done. He goes on a rant about the Dead Space remake too, which I don't want to say anything on because I haven't even gotten around to playing it yet because I'm broke. But you know, like, subscribe, and share the video to get your boys some more money so I can cop that shit. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a great day.
What are you going to do?